Our next speaker is Navneet Lal Sharma from Amity University. He is going to talk about logarithmic coefficients of inverse of equivalent functions. Over to Dr. Sharma.
Good afternoon to all of you. So I'm Dr. Navneet Lal Sharma. First, I would like thanks to organizer who gave me this opportunity to present my research work here. My specialization is complex analysis, and I am working in geometric function theory. The title of my talk is logarithm coefficient of the inverse of univalent function. In this talk, I will discuss the following points. First, I will discuss the introduction to logarithm coefficient problem, then recent developments. After that, I will discuss the logarithm inverse coefficient problem, and last references. Let's start. And this talk is based on this article, and which is published in Rajat in Mathematics in 2018. So let's start. Introduction to logarithm coefficient problem. So let A be the set of analytic function in the unit disk, and which has the power series representation disk. And this representation is called the normalized form. Why it is normalized? Because f at origin is 0 and f prime at origin is 1. So also we can say this is the class of normalized analytic. Next, S is the class of normalized analytic univalent function. Univalent means is one function. The theory of univalent function with a strong foundation from the class of S is beautiful when we study both geometric and analytic property. And also in addition, we study the logarithm restriction and special exponential methods which are useful. And first I will define what is the logarithm coefficient and how we will define this. Let A be in the class S, H means F is the univalent function. Then f by z is a non-vanishing analytic function, so we can define logarithm. So log of f by z is equal to 2 summation gamma n into z to the power n. So here gamma n is called the logarithm coefficient of function f. If I am taking, for example, I am taking the coefficient function kz is equal to z upon 1 minus z whole square, and we are finding the logarithm coefficient of this. Then value is this gamma n is equal to 1 by n. And this coefficient play important role in the theory of univalent function. We will discuss after this slide why it is important. In 1960, Millin investigated the impact of transferring properties of logarithm coefficient to that Taylor's coefficient of f themselves and their role in the univalent function theory. How? Because in 1960, Beaver-Wax proved one gadget. If f is in the class S, that means f is univalent function and has a power series representation, z plus summation a n z to the power n. And he proved modulus of a2 less than equal to 2 and equal to hold for the coefficient function. And meanwhile also, because coefficient function is extremal function for this class, then he found the nth coefficient. The nth coefficient of coefficient function is n. So he made one conjecture: if f in the class S, then modulus of n less than equal to n. But he was unable to do this result, and this problem extended until 1983. In this duration, many mathematicians came. They tried to solve this problem, and they developed different techniques and different classes, as subclasses of univalent, star-like, convex, close to convex, and other classes also. But nobody solved this problem. In 1984, D. Branch proved this result, and he used the technique to logarithm coefficient technique. So, in 1983, Millin gave this conjecture: if f is in the class S, then this inequality holds. And this inequality is proved by D. Brown when he was proving the Beaver-Wax conjective problem. With the help of this, he proved Beaver-Wax conjective problem is this. And also he solved many other open conjecture which I am not discussing here. Coefficient function play extremal role in the class of S. So it is expected that modulus of gamma n less than equal to 1 by n, because we know logarithm coefficient of coefficient function is 1 by n, so we can expect modulus of gamma n less than equal to 1 by n. Now question is this correct or there are some different results? Let's see. First we are comparing the formula from 1 log of f by z is equal to summation 2n into gamma n z to the power n. From there we are comparing the coefficient and we found the gamma 1, gamma 2 and gamma 3. These are in terms of a1, a2, a3 which are the coefficient of f. By the Weber-Bach theorem we can say modulus of gamma 1 less than equal to 1 because modulus of e2 less than equal to 2 and modulus of gamma 2 less than equal to this, and we can solve this by the Faget-Szyszko problem for univalent function. But what is the bound for gamma 3? So till now this is an open problem to find the bound for gamma 3 when f is in the class S. Now there are some classes of univalent function as star-like, convex and univalent convex and close to convex function which are analytic representation are this. Now if I am taking if f is in the class S star means star-like function, then logarithm coefficient modulus of gamma n less than equal to 1 by n. For convex function modulus of gamma n less than equal to 1 by 2n. But if function is convex, then because for convex function Covey function is also external function. But can we say modulus of gamma n less than equal to 1 by n? No. It's failed when we are taking n is equal to 2. And this proved by Garilla in 2001. But I'm not going in that part. My aim to discuss the logarithm inverse coefficient problem. So this is the some basic what is the logarithm coefficient and what are the some important results. So let f be the inverse of f belongs to S and defined in neighborhood of the origin with the Taylor series expansion f of w capital F of w is equal to f inverse w and has the series representation w plus summation capital An in w to the power n which defined in the disk modulus of w less than 1 by 4. Because if f has the series representation function, this is analytic and univalent function. So f of w means f divided by w is a non-vanishing analytic function. So we can take logarithm of that, and logarithm of this is defined by the 2 summation capital gamma n into w to the power n. So here capital gamma n is called the inverse coefficient of the function capital F. Here f is the inverse of f. So my main aim to find this bound, and in this direction nobody have worked in this direction. We started to solve this problem. So main question is this: if we are finding the bound of this, then how we will find what we need and how we will calculate this? And because to find the bound of this is not easy, so we have to look different techniques and how we can apply that technique. So here I will discuss 2 techniques to find the bound. First I am taking let the function f in the class f, that means f is univalent function, and z by f to the power n is analytic function and has the power series representation this 1 plus summation bk into z to the power k. Now I am finding the relation between inverse logarithm coefficient gamma n and bk. So w into f prime by f we can write by this formula, and this has this series representation. Here I am applying Cauchy integral formula and I am using this equation relation 5, and after that after simplification I got this 2n into gamma n is equal to bn. So from here we can find the value of inverse of logarithm coefficient gamma n is equal to bn divided by 2n. That means if we know the coefficient is, then we can find the value of inverse coefficient. For example, we can see Covey function I am taking kz is equal to z by 1 minus z whole square, where z by k to whole power n has this series representation and the has the series representation, and I am taking the nth coefficient of this, and this is the value is this, and take the modulus value because z by f I am writing in terms of bn. So modulus of bn is equal to 2n by n. That means 2n cn. I am using here this NCR. So from this formula we can find the bound of inverse Lorentz coefficient modulus of capital gamma n equal to 1 upon 2n into 2n Cn. And this is one example for this. Now I want to solve this problem for general class, that is general class for star-like function. But before that, I want to discuss one thing. My main problem is this: if f is a univalent function or its subclass, and capital F be the inverse of small f, then is it possible to determine the value modulus of gamma n for the class S and its subclass? Answer is yes. If yes, then how we will calculate? So first is this: I am taking the important result. Let f is in the class S, that means f is univalent function or star-like function, and capital S be the inverse of f. Then the logarithm inverse coefficient gamma n satisfies this inequality. Modulus of gamma n less than equal to 1 upon 2n into 2n. And to this very cool function, that we already discussed how we calculated this inverse coefficient for function. Here I am going for the proof of this theorem. Just I am explaining the statement and which technique I am applying to solve this problem. Now I am going to discuss this problem for another class. Before that, I am defining that. Let f and g to analytic function. Say f is subordinate to g. Then there exists an analytic function which satisfies this relation such that f of z is equal to g of wz, and this subordination is denoted by f subordinate to g. For example, we can take 1 upon 1 plus z is subordinate to 1 plus z divided by 1 minus z. That means image, if you are taking the image of this under unit disk, then is real part of this quantity is greater than 1. Real part of 1 plus z by 1 minus z is greater than 0. And the image of this function under unit disk is real part of this quantity greater than half. And at origin, both have same value. So now I am going to discuss about the generalization class of star-like function. There are a number of ways in the class star-like function generalized in the literature. Here I am taking one generalization, that is called the Janovsky star-like function. So it is denoted by S star AV in the class of ZF prime by F subordinate to 1 plus AZ by 1 plus VZ. And this class is a subclass of star-like function. In particular, if I am taking the value of a equal to 1 and b equal to minus 1, then we will get the class star-like. That means ZF prime by F subordinate to 1 plus Z by 1 minus Z. That is, this is equal to real part of ZF prime by F greater than 0. And this function is an HTML function for the class of S star UV. Now I will discuss the logarithm inverse coefficient problem for this class. First, I am using this notation. Ik denotes the semi-closed interval which defined in this, and k and n satisfy this relation. Let f be in the class S star AV and satisfy this condition on AV. Then the inverse logarithm coefficient gamma n satisfies the following results: modulus of gamma n less than equal to this inequality, and this inequality holds when a and b satisfy this condition. That means because I am taking the condition AB minus 1 less than equal to b less than a less than equal to 1, but this result is not hold for whole this condition. This result hold only for this condition when we are taking this. For another, if I am because lambda delta is equal to I am taking 1 minus a divided by 1 minus b. If lambda belongs to whole interval ik, then I have different inequality. And one more interesting is this inequality is sharp, but this inequality is not sharp. And these are the another results. If lambda belongs to in this interval, then modulus of gamma n less than equal to a minus b divided by 2n. And this inequality is sharp for this kv n function, which I defined in the previous slide. Now, question is how we will prove this? Because to prove this, first we are finding the inverse coefficient for this class S star AB. That we are finding the value of Z by F to whole power n. Then we are comparing the relation between inverse coefficient gamma n and Bn. After that, we are solving this. Next, then this work published in this paper. logarithm coefficient of the inverse univalent function in the result in mathematics. Now I am going to discuss this problem for another class, and here I will use different technique. The class f alpha is defined by this way: real part of 1 plus z f double prime by f prime greater than alpha, and alpha lies in this range minus half to 1. If I am taking particular value of alpha is equal to 0, then this class is reduced to class of convex function. That means real part of 1 plus z f prime by f prime greater than 0. If we take alpha is equal to minus half, then this class is reduced to class of close to convex function, or we can say convex in one direction. First, I am giving some introduction how we will find the logarithm inverse coefficient problem for the class f alpha, and how we are using subordination technique. As we can see here, real part of 1 plus z f prime by f prime greater than alpha. Now we can write this in terms of subordination. 1 plus z f prime by f prime is subordinate to 1 plus 1 minus 2 alpha into z divided by 1 minus z, and we can simplify this. Then we can find the value of z f double prime by f prime. And now I'm using the subordination result, because if we can say f is subordinate to g, then there exists analytic function such that I'm taking analytic function is phi, such that f of z is equal to g of phi. So z f prime by f prime is equal to this function, where phi is analytic function, and we can simplify this. Now after this equation, we will compare the coefficient both sides, because phi has the power series in terms of cn, summation cn into z to the power n, and f has the series representation z plus summation en into z to the power n. And also meanwhile, we will take the formula f inverse small f inverse is equal to, I am denoting by capital A f, this is the inverse of small f. So f of f is equal to w and satisfy this relation. That means we can say here z is equal to f of w. Now I am differentiating this, then I have this relation, and after that again I am differentiating, then I am comparing the coefficient and simplifying. Then we will get the relation in terms of capital gamma 1 means inverse coefficient of capital gamma 1, gamma 2 and gamma 3, and this relation in terms of a2, a3 and e3. Now by the previous result, from here we will find the value a1, a2, an in terms of cn and alpha. Then we will use that result, and from we can substitute here and we can simplify this. Now we got the inverse logarithm coefficient gamma 1, gamma 2, gamma 3 in terms of alpha and c. So to find the value of this, we will use this relation. How we will use, and result we are finding this result. If f is in the class f alpha, then modulus of capital gamma 1 less than equal to 1 minus alpha less than equal to 2, and this result is hold for whole alpha, and alpha belongs to in this range. But if we are finding the second inverse logarithm coefficient bound, then this bound is bounded by this quantity. But when alpha lie in this range minus half to 1 by 5, but we can see here our alpha belongs to minus half to 1. What about the rest value? For rest value, we have another result, modulus of gamma 2 less than equal to 1 minus alpha by 6. And here we can see both this result, in both case, inequality hold for this function, f prime is equal to 1 minus z to the power this, but for this function, extremate hold for another function. And we can see another result, modulus of gamma 3 less than is equal to 1 minus alpha divided by 12 when alpha lies in this range. But we can see here our alpha lie minus half to 1, but we are getting this value only for this range. But what about another? So similarly, we have modulus of gamma 3 less than equal to this value for another value. But because this problem does not solve, we cannot solve this problem for whole range of alpha. This is also till now open problem. And inequality hold for both inequality by different functions. For this inequality hold for this function, this is different 1 minus z q to whole power this, and inequality hold in this case for this function, this is totally different from us. Now if I am taking particular value of alpha, suppose I am taking alpha is equal to minus half, that means f in the class f of minus half, that means f in the class of closed to convex function. Then we have this result, modulus of gamma 1 less than or equal to 3 by 4, gamma modulus of gamma 2 less than or equal to 11 by 16, and this is another. And these inequalities are for this function. But we are unable to find the bound for modulus of capital gamma n. This is till now open problem, and we are trying to solve that problem. In particular, if I am taking alpha is equal to 0, then we have the bound modulus of gamma n less than or equal to 1 by 2n, and equality holds for this function. This is a convex function z by 1 minus z. Now, proof of this theorem is based on this Prochnow and Singer, which they studied in 1981. Let f phi z is equal to this, then psi of phi is equal to this relation, then psi of phi less than or equal to 1 when mu and nu belong to d1 and d1 union d2, and d1 and union d2 defined by this way. And modulus of psi phi less than or equal to modulus of nu when mu and nu belongs to d6 union d7, and d6 and d7 defined by this. So these are some references. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Sharma. If anyone has any question, please go ahead and ask. At least I can see one person, because he asked one question. Yeah, please, because go ahead and ask. Yeah, I think Vikas has one question. Why we are taking a1 is equal to 1 in equation number 3? That's what he is written.
E1 is equal to 1. Where, sir? E1 is equal to 1, sir, where I am? Because if you are looking the normalized form, that I can explain. If you are seeing here this, why we are taking a1 is equal to 1? Because this is normalized form. Because if you are taking the series summation fz is equal to suppose e1z plus e2z square plus e3z cube, that means because this is an analytic function and univalent function, now we can normalize this. I can take this f of z is equal to minus a1z, and we can define this because this is a univalent function, and univalent function we know derivative is non-zero. Then we can divide by first coefficient. If we will divide by first coefficient, then we will get fz is equal to z plus a2 by a1 plus a3 by a2 into z square, and so on. Then we can give some another notation for a2 by a1, and that means an by a1. We can give some another notation. As you can say, you can give b1, b2, b3. And this is a normalized, because we are normalizing this, then we are getting this condition. And also we can say this is normalized analytic function which satisfies the condition f at origin is 0 and f prime at origin is 1. Here we are now taking general series extension.
Any other question? Okay, if there is no other question, let's thank the speaker.